One Saltwater people. It's Talk Pisin, the language of Papua New Guinea, also spoken in the Torres Strait Islands of Australia, the Solomons. It means one saltwater people. I'm a musician, a singer, a songwriter. I would like to get across to you a passion and interest to go and explore our region. Our country's situated in one of the most fascinating places in the world. I think too often we view further afield than we see in our own backyard. Yes, Australia is an island, but our closest neighbour, Papua New Guinea, lies 5 kilometres from our northernmost border. Our Torres Strait Island people are the same people as the Papua New Guineans. They speak the same languages. Here's some sounds first. Papua New Guinea has close to 1/3 of the world's languages, together with Vanuatu and Solomons, Melanesian countries in kind. 850 different languages in Papua New Guinea, 150 in Vanuatu, similar in the Solomons. When I was a youngster, a musician living out in Park Orchards, playing my post-punk Manchester music, the band Not Drowning Waving, had a visuals guy who worked with us. His name was Mark Worth. His father was in the Navy, a place called Lombaram on Manus Island. That naval base is now used to, sadly, house asylum seekers. But Mark spent the first 16 years of his life in PNG, and he would always passionately say to me, he said, you can go to England, you can go to America, you can go to Europe, it's your first overseas trip. He said, but they're just the bloody same as here. You've got your Lloyd's banks, you've got your Impulse service stations, similar stories. He said, if you go to Papua New Guinea, it's like going to another planet. All your antennas are raised the whole time. Every sight, every sound is new, resonates. You learn so much. There's such a different take on the world. And you learn about yourself. In Melanesia, it's life in the raw. People living on the same ground that their ancestors had lived on, working the same gardens that their grandparents and their grandparents before them and their grandparents before them worked. Speaking the same languages. Whether you're into music like I was, or if you're into the natural world, if you're into a country that has reefs and has mountains that fall from that have sheer drops of 2 kilometres. Tim Flannery writes about the animal world up there, and this melting pot of influences that. It's just unique. It's right on our doorstep. So as a musician, I set up to Rabaul, set up to Papua New Guinea in 1986 with a few of my mates. People said, you've got to be careful, it's a bit of a dangerous place. That 6 weeks changed my life. And since then I've pursued an adventure, musical collaborations, touring, holidays sometimes. Learnt about customs. Just been exposed to this world that has been amazing. The first trip we went to the Sepik River, a centre of fantastic art, carvings, masks. A river like the Nile or the Amazon that kind of winds all the way from Wewak up to the West Papuan border. We went to Madang. We went to Manus Island, a place where they play these garamut drums, these hollowed out log drums that play rhythms like polyrhythmic. It's unique. There's nothing like it in the world. It's not like African rhythms. It's like the melodies, the rhythms are like melodies played ensemble form on these little coral atolls. And then I ended up in Rabaul. Papua New Guinea was Australia's only colony, and Rabaul was the capital there. In 1994, it was destroyed by volcanoes. But it has this history. What Rabaul's seen in the last 100 years is astonishing. They've been through German, British, Australian and Japanese occupation. Now an independent country, of course. During the Second World War, a whole lot of Australians were caught behind enemy lines there, and there's fascinating stories that go on as to what happened with these people. In Rabaul, I happened to, as a musician, they had a studio there called the Pacific Gold Studios. And Pacific Gold Studios had, Rabaul had this fascinating music scene. It was a bit like Jamaica in the 70s. It was like these two 24-track studios that were running 24 hours a day. Different bands playing every night. It's part of the Stringband sound. Acoustic guitars, ukuleles, harmonies dwelling over the top. The kind of music that makes you smile. This particular song has a lyric about a butterfly spirit. It's a pretty zen lyric. By this band that comes from Rolawana. I heard this song on a PMV bus every day when I was on that first trip. But who sings this song? It's by George Telek. He's a superstar up here. He plays in his string band, he's got his rock band. The next day I met George. At the studio because I went to buy the cassette. And we sat on a beach that night at a barbecue, eating chicken, or kakaruk as they call it, and drinking beer. And George said, why don't you come up and record a record up here? And so Not Drowning Waving, the band that I was in down here, we all ventured up to Rabaul for 2 months and recorded the record Tabaran. From doing that record, I just kept going back. It was like, it's close. I had work up there, but I even chose it as a place to go and chill out. Because you got to know people and got to know friends. And I started up this record label with a bunch of other Papua New Guinean musicians and some Australians called the Wantok Music Foundation. Wantok meaning you speak with the same language. So if somebody in all the different language groups up in PNG. So we started up this label, which basically was a way that Australia and PNG could connect, not just with PNG, but also with all the other countries in Melanesia. So the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Bougainville, and use this label as a conduit through which these artists could reach out to the rest of the world. But what I believe that cultural music is something special. Melodies, its words, its instrumentation. That is something idiosyncratic, special, something different, a point of difference. And the best musicians deserve for their music to be heard. So we set up this label as a way to not only help these musicians, but also music for Melanesians is a part of everyday life. So it's part of their political struggles, it's part of their expression, it's part of their identity, as it is for Indigenous Australian musicians. we started working with some artists from West Papua. West Papua is on the western side of the island from Papua New Guinea. There's a borderline that goes straight through the middle. PNG is independent. On the other side of the island, they live under Indonesian rule, a fairly despotic military rule. This is a war that's happening on our doorstep. There's a lot of artists in West Papua who are now living in exile in Australia, and we've released some of their records. We released a CD by a young fella named Ireleki Ingram called Weapon of Choice. This clip here that he made in Port Moresby about the struggle in West Papua. We also did a record over in Bougainville. Bougainville was a site that had a civil war that went on from 1990 to 2000. The Bougainville War was probably caused by our country, by our government. Pre-independence, Panguna mine. This record, this cow music, was a beautiful CD to make and so peaceful by these people who had just gone through. I couldn't believe with Bougainville that they had gone through a civil war, because to go there in 2009 and 2011 and 2013, which I did, I've never seen a people more so committed to getting their country back on the right frame. It wasn't like just hard-working, just getting back into their custom, getting back into making it work again, and friendly, peaceful. And of course, across the waters from Bougainville is the Solomon Islands. I'd like to introduce to you Charles Maimarosia. Charles comes from Are in Malaysia in the Solomons.